Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be telling you about all of the sewing projects I made throughout 2023. So when the end of the year rolls around, I think it's really fun to look back at everything that I made over the course of the year, and I thought I would take you guys along with me. If you're a regular viewer of my channel, then a lot of these projects will be familiar to you, but there will be a few projects you might not have seen on my channel that I'll feature in this video as well. So I've got all my projects here on this rack behind me, so let's just jump right into it. These projects are in no particular order, by the way. So the first project I want to talk about is this Chalk and Notch Max Tee. I recently finished one of the most recent things I made this year, and it's made out of a Blackbird Fabrics bamboo rib knit fabric, which I've used many times for different things on this channel like turtlenecks, tank tops, and I decided to use it for this tee. And as you can see, it's in this heathered gray kind of color. So when I made this, I envisioned wearing this tee over top of a turtleneck, kind of like the look I have going on today with this vest on top of a turtleneck. And while I love this pattern, I think I didn't use the right fabric for it. So you can see that the neckline is kind of droopy, whereas I wanted the neckline more to stand up on its own. So if I made this again, I would definitely interface the neckline. It was overall a generally simple sew, but there is a little bit of fiddly work, such as the facing for the armholes. I also did a facing for the hem in an attempt to get a neat finish. And overall, it looks pretty good. And I would definitely make this pattern again because it's really easy to make. I just think maybe I would use a stiffer, less drapey fabric the next time I make it. This pattern has a loose, oversized, kind of boxy look, which I love. I think the sleeve opening is cut in this really perfect, flattering way, and I love the mock neckline option as well. But there's several different views included in this pattern, so you can customize it a little bit to be what you like. Overall, really like this one. I would definitely make it again, and I can't recommend this pattern enough. It's great. So next up, I want to talk about these two turtlenecks I made. These are both made from the True Bias Nikko pattern. And as you can see, I have a burnt orange color and a white color. These turtlenecks are made in the same Blackbird Fabrics bamboo rib knit fabric that I just featured for the Max Tee. And overall, I'm pretty happy with these. I think the Nikko pattern is a great pattern, but I have had some issues with the fit. Earlier in the year, I also made this pattern out of a cotton jersey, but I found the jersey didn't have enough stretch. I don't have those turtlenecks anymore to show you for this video, but I will pop a video of me trying them on for you so you can get an idea. So when I made them the second time around, I decided to use something a little bit more stretchy, this bamboo rib knit. And I think because the rib knit is a little bit more unstable to work with because of all that stretch, the turtlenecks just have a little bit of a messier finish, which I don't love. The fit on these is pretty good. I had some issues with the armhole. I did size up a size compared to the one I made last time, so I measure in at a size 4, but I made these in a size 6 for a little bit more room. But I do still find the armhole is pretty tight. I am going to go back and top stitch the seam allowance of the neckband piece down for a neater finish. So as soon as I do that, I think it will also help it to look a little bit more tidy as well. A classic turtleneck like this is great because you can layer it, you can wear it on its own. It's a really versatile piece. So I'm a big turtleneck person. You can see I'm wearing one today. So I do think it's helpful and practical to have pieces like this in your wardrobe. All right, so next up is something I made much earlier on this year. In fact, it feels like so long ago, I can hardly believe I made this earlier in the year. But it is this Marlo sweater, and I made it out of a Mood Fabrics double knits. You can see the outside, the right side is this kind of jewel toned blue color, and the inside of the double knit is a lighter kind of baby blue. I had a good experience sewing this. It was one of my first times working with a true knit like this, and it was relatively easy to sew. One thing I don't love about it, and this is completely my fault, is I didn't finish the raw edges on the inside because normally with knits, you don't really have to worry about them unraveling. But because this is a double knit, there's 2 layers of knit fused together, so I do find it unravels a lot. And I also just think the seam on the inside looks pretty messy. So for that reason, I'm not 100% satisfied with this make. But I do think this is a wonderful pattern. The fit is really great. You can make a cropped or full-length view. And to me, this pattern looks a lot like what you would find in ready-to-wear stores these days. So if you want to kind of get a look that's really current, something you'd actually see in stores, then this pattern is great for that. I would definitely make it again. I would just be better about my seam finishes so that I get a nice neat look on the inside. So next up, let's talk about this really pretty black rayon dress that I made. I featured this dress in a thrift flip video. So I did thrift a vintage 90s rayon dress and I transformed it into this dress. And I used the Chloe dress pattern to help me achieve this look. So things I love about this dress, I really love this vintage rayon fabric. It's one of my favorite types of fabric to work with. It just has such a different feeling to modern rayons and you really can't beat the drape in it. I also love this dainty rose print on the dress, and I also really like the silhouette of this dress. Things I don't love about it though, because it was a thrift flip and I was kind of transforming the original dress into this, some of the pieces I cut from that dress are not perfectly cut on grain. And I feel like I can tell when I wear it that the skirt is not draping properly. But I will say I feel like that's something that your non-sewing friends and family would never really notice. So I try to remind myself of that. I also think the gathering at the bust was a little bit hard for me and it ended up looking a bit messy despite the fact that I redid it several times. So I just don't think this looks super neat at the bust. But because it's made in a black fabric, it kind of is disguised, so that's good. I haven't worn this that much yet, but I do plan to wear it next summer on vacation or going to dinners and that sort of thing. And it really gives me the same vibe as a Reformation dress. So if you love Reformation inspired clothing, then you should definitely check out this pattern. I think it's really modern, really fun, and the bows on the sleeves are just so cute. So yeah, really love this project. Okay, next up, this was my second dress make of the year. And this is this really pretty bright pink cutout dress. It's made from a cotton poplin fabric. And the pattern I used was a new look pattern. And this is one that's best seen on. It doesn't really look that good on the hanger. So I'll insert the clips of me trying it on now. But as you can see, it's just got these really fun cutouts on the side as well as a really low open back. And I really love the look because it's so fun and modern and it's so unique that I feel like it's something you would never be able to find in a store, but at the same time it looks so modern and current. It looks like something you maybe bought from a really cool, unique store and all of your friends will be asking you where you got it from. That's just what this reminds me of. I also love this cotton poplin fabric I chose for it. I got it from Fabricland and the dress is fully lined. So there's 2 layers of the same poplin, which makes it a little bit less sheer. This is actually an incredibly easy make. I mean, you're basically just sewing 2 side seams of the skirt and then this long elastic casing and then threading the elastic through. So really, it's incredibly simple to make. You could even leave the lining out if you wanted. But I love this so much. I've gotten so much wear out of this. It's the perfect dress for really hot summer days. And so I'm really excited to keep wearing it next year. And I'm really hoping to make another version of this or maybe even 2 more versions of this dress for spring and summer of 2024 because I love the pattern and it's so easy to make. So definitely recommend this pattern. So next up is this beautiful vintage inspired dress that I made from a 1970s style sewing pattern. And I chose this gorgeous floral navy blue cotton poplin fabric I got from Blackbird Fabrics. And I fully lined the dress in a corresponding navy blue poplin fabric. And it was my first time attempting to fully line something, especially something a little bit more complex where you have this collar section to deal with. And it was a really good experience. It was very easy and the result is really neat and tidy. So I'm glad I took the time to do it. One of the key features of this dress is the statement collar with this contrast bias tape. This was, I'm not going to lie, a little bit of a nightmare to do. It was pretty challenging to get these corners nice and pointy, so it took me several tries, but the finished result looks really great. And I especially love how this floral pattern pairs with this vintage style dress. Something about this floral pattern takes me back to floral patterns of almost the 80s, the 90s. So I like that it pairs with this older sewing pattern. I think it ends up having a really nice vintage inspired look. So I absolutely love this. I have a whole video about sewing this one, so I will link that for you guys if you're interested. But this is a great pattern. I had a lot of fun sewing it and it's a gorgeous dress. I've worn it a lot. So definitely a winner for me this year. Okay guys, next up is something you won't have seen on this channel. I was debating if I should even include it in this video, but I want to keep it real for you guys. I want to show you the successes as well as the fails, and this project is probably my biggest ever fail to date. So I wanted to try my hand at making a bias skirt, and I had this gorgeous polyester fabric I had gotten from Fabricland, and it was pretty inexpensive, so I thought it would be a good one to try with, so if I messed it up, then it wouldn't matter too much. And spoiler alert, I did mess it up. So it was my first time working on the bias, and I made a critical error. I cut out the front and the back skirts the wrong way. So when you're working on the bias and you're cutting out your projects, you need to orient your pieces so that they're being cut on opposite bias grains. Otherwise, you get these really nasty twisting seams. And I'm not sure if you can tell, but that's exactly what's happened on this skirt. I have these really noticeable twisting seams, which is too bad. I tried to save it, but I think this is too far gone because I just cut it improperly. So I probably will cut this up and make it into something different because I do really like the fabric. But it wasn't a total waste of time. I learned how to install a nice seamless elastic waistband, and I did a really great job with that. And it definitely taught me a few important lessons about working on the bias. I did pick up some more inexpensive polyester silky fabric from Fabricland, and I really want to have some redemption, so I'm going to try making this skirt again. In case anyone is wondering, I did use the Vicky Sew's Sati skirt pattern to make this, so that's the pattern I'm going to use again for my second attempt. I don't think there's anything wrong with the pattern. I think I'm just really inexperienced with working on the bias. So yeah, unfortunately this was a fail, so probably going to cut this one up, but like I said, I wanted to keep it real for you guys, so this is my biggest fail of the year for sure. Alright, let's talk about this two-piece activewear set I made this summer. As you can see, it's got some color blocking in it, which I really love. There's kind of this muted pink, this green color, and then this more sage green color, and I like how they pair together. All the fabric I used for this set was from Blackbird Fabrics. It was their matte activewear knit, which I don't think they have at this time, but it might come back in stock, you never know. For this jacket, I used the Jaily soft shell jacket pattern, and the instructions were pretty bare bones, but I was able to follow them okay, and the result is great. I like this main zipper detail as well as these side zippered pockets. I think they look really nice. And the matching pair of leggings to go with it is made from the Seamwork Tino leggings pattern. And again, I have a whole video about the process of sewing this activewear set, so if you've been wanting to have a go at sewing some activewear, I would definitely check it out. I will link it for you now. Overall, I really like this set. I will say I like the jacket a lot more, and I wear the jacket a lot more. I just find the leggings aren't super duper comfortable because of all the seams on them, so I tend to prefer my ready-to-wear seamless knit leggings, but there's nothing wrong with them. But this jacket was amazing, and I don't know, I might try sewing it again in the future. It was definitely a big project though. This was a beast of a project for me, but very proud of the hard work that I did on this jacket. Okay, speaking of jackets, I recently finished up this fall floral jacket. I made it from the Friday Pattern Company Ilford jacket pattern, which is a unisex genderless pattern. It's for anyone. And it's a very simple pattern. It has the front pieces, the back piece, and then the sleeves are raglan style, so they're very easy to set in. Because of that, the look is extremely boxy and relaxed, which is fine, and I don't mind that. I wish I had sewn this 1 or 2 sizes up because I would have preferred a bit more room in the sleeves as well as the cuffs of the wrists, or maybe I just would have widened the bottom of the wrists a little bit for a little bit more comfort. The fabric I used is incredible. I got it at a swap and fabric swap and meetup here in Toronto. And my best guess is that it's some sort of polyester upholstery fabric, so you know, a little bit non-traditional for garment sewing, but I think it turned out really, really cool, and I wore it a lot this fall. I did run into a few issues when sewing the cuffs and some of the corners because this is so loosely woven because it's an upholstery fabric compared to a garment fabric, so it was a little bit tough to work with at some points, but overall it turned out well. I also took my time and did some nice bias finishes on the inside, so the inside looks really neat and tidy. It's not lined, but I just did the bias finishes, so it looks really great in that sense. Yeah, overall, I love this one. It was such a unique project, really a statement piece, and I think it's so fun to have in my wardrobe. These are definitely my favorite colors to wear in the fall as well, so just a really practical make for me that I know I'll wear a lot. Okay, keeping on the theme of jackets, I made this Friday Pattern Company Heather Blazer pattern this summer, and I made it in this really loud statement fabric. This is a heritage textile I bought from a seller on Etsy. It's a hand-woven cotton fabric, and I thought it would just add a rustic charm to this blazer pattern. This was my first time making a fully lined blazer, and I had a really good experience working with this pattern. This is a slightly less tailored version of a blazer, so you don't really have to fuss around with like adding the shoulder part, the shoulder pads to the sleeves here, and some finer tailoring details. But I think it's a really nice, modern, relaxed take on a blazer, something I would actually wear in my everyday life rather than something a little bit too formal. The instructions are great for people who are making their blazer for the first time, and there's also a sew along YouTube video, which I thought was really wonderful. I used a cotton poplin to line it, which I know is a little unorthodox, but I really don't like slippery fabrics against my skin. And overall, I think it worked out pretty well. A couple complaints I have, this one is my fault, but the main fabric I used was pretty heavy and stiff. It didn't have a lot of drape to it. So because of that, the overall blazer is pretty stiff, and the fit of the blazer is very, very boxy, which a lot of people had said online. And I think the boxiness combined with the lack of drape just makes it look very blocky when worn. So if you're going to make this blazer and you really don't want a blocky look, I would size down, and or if you can't size down because of the shoulders or the arms, I would try to take some width out of this main section because it is very, very wide. But yeah, this is definitely a one-of-a-kind statement sort of piece, something that you wouldn't be able to buy at a store. Really unique. Hopefully I'll be able to get a little bit more wear out of it next summer. The bright pink color really reminds me of spring and summer, and the cotton fabric makes it pretty breathable, so hopefully I'll get a little bit more wear out of it then. So last but not least, and I think what was my first project of this year, is this mossy green Oslo coat pattern. So this is a winter coat I made from the Tessuti Fabrics Oslo coat pattern, and it was my first time making a coat, making a tailored garment, adding a lining, all these sorts of things. So it was a huge, huge undertaking for me, a really big project. But as you can see, I chose a mossy green boiled wool fabric to make this coat out of, and I got it from Mood Fabrics. And the coat is fully lined in a darker green Kasha lining fabric, and that's a type of lining that is a satin slippery fabric on one side and is backed with a warm flannel on the other side. So it's meant to give your coat a little bit of warmth. So overall, I'm very pleased with myself for pulling this off. Here's what I would change for next time though. I would definitely use a lighter weight fabric or a lighter weight lining. The coat is extremely heavy. I'm guessing it's at least 10 pounds. Like, it is so heavy. So to wear it, it just feels like a lot. So I would maybe go with a lighter type of wool, so a thinner type of boiled wool or a lighter weight lining fabric. The hem of this coat also really bothers me. I wasn't able to get a neat finish using the instructions in the pattern, despite the fact that I was really careful and I went back and tried to make sure everything was lining up. So the hem is just really wonky, which does bother me. So if I made this pattern again, I would just make some sort of hacked hem, and I wouldn't use the hem instructions from the original pattern. They didn't work out for me. I do think the pattern instructions could have been more clear. It took me a little bit of trial and error at some points to figure out what they wanted me to do, but I got it done in the end. The other major issue with this pattern is that the pocket placement is way too low. If you're going to make this, you must raise your pockets by a few inches, but I would also just get rid of the inseam pockets entirely because they kind of drag down the coat and they ruin the pretty line of the side seam of the coat. And I would instead do welt pockets on the front or some sort of other pocket placement, but I wouldn't do inseam pockets again for a coat like this. I do actually wear this coat quite a bit because it's such a statement, it's my favorite color, and it's the perfect way to make your outfit a little bit more fun during the cold winter months. If you've been thinking of making this pattern, I would highly suggest you check out my video, or if it's your first time making a coat, then I would also just suggest checking out the video so you can learn from my mistakes, and I'll share my tips and tricks with you in that video. I'll link it here for you. Okay guys, so that is everything I made in 2023. So all in all together, I made 15 projects this year. That's including the 2 turtlenecks that I didn't actually feature in this video because I've already gotten rid of them. They didn't fit me very well. 15 projects is pretty good. That's just over 1 project per month, which I think is my average, and just with my lifestyle and everything, that's a very realistic amount of projects for me in 1 year. I think it would be hard for me to accomplish much more than that, so I am very happy with what I did. So if you haven't seen the most recent video on my channel, I did a tier ranking video ranking all of the sewing projects I've ever made. It was a huge undertaking, so if you haven't checked it out, I would really recommend you do. I'll link that for you guys. I am planning on doing a follow-up video to that where I talk about what I learned during the process of ranking all of my sewing projects, and I'll also talk about my 2024 sewing goals. So if you're interested in that, please stick around, and that will be on my channel soon. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching and for supporting my channel during 2023. It means so much to me. I'm really looking forward to bringing you guys lots of fun sewing related content for 2024. So thank you so much for following along my channel, and I can't wait to show you what I have in store for you next year. Happy New Year, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.